On this International Women's Day, we take the opportunity to honor female accomplishments, but we also pause to consider the struggles and universal challenges that women face globally.
One of those struggles is, of course, gender-based violence. Women face this every day, both on and offline. Digital violence can include things like cyber stalking, hate speech, and the non-consensual use of photos and videos, which of course has lasting consequences on women and girls. Now, our next guest frames this as a human rights abuse issue. Dr. Natalia Kanem is executive director of the United Nations Population Fund, an agency that's dedicated to sexual and reproductive health rights for women and girls. Dr. Kanem, welcome to Quick Take. We're going to dive into how your agency is helping on the issue of digital violence, but we'd be remiss if we didn't start with asking you about what's going on with women and girls as they flee Ukraine. Women and children being separated from the men who are being kept to fight. What is your single biggest concern right now for the women and girls who are fleeing?
The impact of conflict on women and girls is heartbreaking, and it is really dangerous. And I'm preoccupied by the understanding that at this very moment, the majority of people fleeing out of harm's way are women and their children, and they're vulnerable, they need protection. By the way, it's important also to understand that within the next 3 months, about 80,000 Ukrainian women who are pregnant will be giving birth. And during those 3 months, they need their health care, they need protection, and they need to be able to deliver safely while giving life.
We also see pictures and videos of women giving birth in abandoned subway stations in Kyiv at the moment as well. So there are women who are staying behind in Ukraine. What are NGOs like the UN agency that you work for doing to ensure their safety, especially when you can't, or your monitors can't always be physically present all the time?
Well, let me highlight that the United Nations, as an organization of multilaterals, not governmental, but working with all governments, has played a really important role in doing two things. Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for peace, for ceasefire, for an immediate cessation of the hostilities, which are the reason that women and girls are on the run. And I'm talking to the tune of 2 million people who have left Ukraine in such a short space of time. The second thing that multilateral organizations such as UNFPA, which is the Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency, hence our concern for pregnant women, for violence, which shadows women when they are fleeing. And I'm speaking of gender-based violence up to and including rape and these concerns of trafficking that can occur in these crises. However, when it comes to assuring, it's winter, food is an issue. The UN is working in concert on issues of transport and again, insisting on the fundamentals of peace, dialogue, as a way to resolve issues.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of video footage of children fleeing on their own without any appearance of parents in sight. Dr. Kanem, what can be done to keep those children safe, specifically girls who are crossing on their own and may not have any form of parental guidance or assistance with them to kind of keep them safe? How can they be kept safe then?
Again, I insist on full respect for women and their concerns. And this concern for children, which UNICEF also expresses, is an understanding that they are vulnerable. When people are vulnerable and need protection, everything has to organize in order to defend their human rights. Let me tell you that setting up shelters for people in crisis right now is so important during the weather conditions that people are facing. Moreover, there's the matter of biology. UNFPA provides dignity kits, which are handed out by the midwives, by the social workers, by the numerous nurses and doctors that we employ to shield people from having biological concerns like menstruation. The dignity kit contains health, hygiene contents that are very much appreciated during this time. The other point I really have to make is that the welcome on the other side of the border is also something that we're helping with.
Yeah.
The neighboring countries also need assistance as they receive the refugee population.
Well, when we think about gender-based violence, of course, digital violence comes to mind as well. And I know that you and your organization have a big campaign around that. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing to allow women to have agency and control over their bodies and kind of copyright their own bodies online?
That's right. Well, it has to be understood that the virtual space now is an arena where violence happens, and it is real. It is just as real without borders or limits as something that happens in the physical space, and often these things spill over. And the question that UNFPA is asking in our Body Right campaign, which we invite everyone to join, is why should a copyright for a poem or a book or a song have more weight than the image of a woman or girl in the virtual space? You're the owner of your body wherever you are. The B with the circle around it, akin to the C for copyright, means that objectionable images that a woman or a girl did not consent to should come down. And we're asking tech companies to please understand that these are human rights violations. The other very important thing is that bullying online intimidates women and girls who have every right to participate in that space. So that's what Body Right is trying to say loud and clear. My body is my own. I'm the owner of my body right.
How much of the burden then falls on the big tech companies, the social media companies that are in charge of these platforms when it comes to addressing this versus individual bad actors who will find a way to do this with or without the help of those platforms?
You know, this is a great question because what UNFPA is saying is that there's a system that has to acknowledge, in particular, a gender differential that makes women and girls vulnerable at a time when a lot has gone online because of the pandemic. Girls are learning online. Hence the type of intimidation, the name calling, the types of insults, but also threats and stalking. It's a system that has to respond. And tech companies, the power of business, the understanding of regulating that environment has to privilege women and girls being safe online and also to take down images that are up there without consent. Really, really important because it has huge mental health implications, depression all the way through suicide when people are attacked relentlessly online. And for women politicians also to be respected in the virtual space.
Right, and women and girls are, of course, punished if their images are posted online without their consent. So it's just a very vicious cycle. Dr. Kanem, when we talk about this, and I think about the future of the internet, and I think about the metaverse, I'm more and more concerned about having another new space to navigate where we're going to continue to see some of the bad behavior we've already seen online follow us into the metaverse. What is your number one biggest concern as we start to develop spaces and go into spaces in the metaverse, specifically for women and girls?
Working assiduously with UNFPA in over 150 locations around the world, the bottom line is full respect and full dignity for women. Today is International Women's Day. It's a time for us to look at each other and to say, yes, we value women's participation across the whole arena. And the metaverse, indeed, the universe should be a gender equal space. Women are highly capable of functioning, of leading, of running their business, being a teacher, whatever it is that she wants to do. She should not be hampered by the type of violence that can occur online. And it's a very intimate type of violence. It's a very intimate type of offense. When she opens her phone, she should not be harassed. So ultimately, I believe that we need allies. Business is a great ally. Men and boys are great allies in understanding that the online space is now contiguous with quote unquote real life. So very important to claim your body right. And this is what the website on Body Right that UNFPA has launched is saying. So please join the movement. We need action on this point.
Really important reminders on all of that, Dr. Kanem. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Dr. Natalia Kanem, Executive Director of UNFPA, speaking with us on International Women's Day about this really important issue.